Hi everyone! So this week we've been discussing harchakos, and today we're going to continue on with that. I want to quote a Gemara to you, the Gemara in Nida. Rabbi Meir says, he asks a question first, why does the Torah say that a Nida is forbidden for 7 days? And then he answers the question and he says, because you can grow accustomed to your spouse and then the relationship can get stale. Therefore, the Nida becomes usher to her husband for 7 days so that their love can be enhanced like the night of the chuppah. That's the Gemara. That means that the laws of harchakos are not there for richok, which is the root of the word harchakos. Rachok means far, distance. The laws of harchakos are not there for richok, for distance, but actually they're there for kiruv. They're there for closeness. Basically, the Gemara is trying to teach us that no matter how much you love something, you can start taking it for granted. You can stop appreciating it. The value of it can decrease if you grow too accustomed to it. For example, all right, you love sushi. You love sushi. But if you start eating sushi 3 times a day, every single day for a year, are you gonna love sushi that much anymore? You grow accustomed to it, you stop appreciating it. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I have plenty of times. A new song comes out that I love, and I just listen to this song on repeat over and over and over and over and over till it gets to a point where I just cannot listen to that song anymore, and I need a huge break from it until I can start listening to it again. That's what the Gemara tells us over here. The idea of Nida is so that the couple doesn't lose their excitement and their desire for each other. Now, there are 2 possible reasons for someone to immerse in a mikvah. The first is the one that we know about. When you want to change your status from tumah to tahara, from impurity to purity, and that's a real thing. But then there's also another reason that has nothing to do with tumah at all, and that is to elevate your status. An example of this would be somebody who is converting to Judaism. The non-Jew has to immerse in the mikvah to elevate his status to that of a Jew. Another example would be with an inanimate object as well. Tevilas kalim, you take the kli, you take the object, and you immerse it in the mikvah. It has nothing to do with purity and impurity. You are elevating the status of that object to a status that's kosher. We have the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. He immerses in the mikvah as well. He's not impure. He was in the Beis HaMikdash the entire day. He has to immerse in the mikvah to elevate his status. So harchakos nida are not about isolation of the woman. This is not a stigma on her. In fact, there are many poskim who say that the halachos of nida are not about purity and impurity at all. It is simply about iser veheter. Like, is this kosher or is it not kosher? That's it. For example, we know that in Hilchos Nida, a man cannot come into contact with his wife while she's in Nida. We also know in Hilchos Harchakos that he is not allowed to come in contact with her clothing either while she's in Nida. But that's only while she's wearing the clothing. If he wants to wash her clothes for her, if he wants to fold her clothes for her, can he do that when she's not wearing them? And we know that he can. But wait a second. If she's a tmeah, if she's impure, then anything she handles or anything she wears also becomes tameh. So here's how we understand that it's not about tumah at all. It's not about tumah and tahara. It's about iser veheter. Is this allowed? Is it not allowed? Intimate connection while she is in a status of nida is asar. The Kuzari says that the separation of nida is not about tumah and tahara. It is simply a commandment from Hashem. And if we go back to the original Gemara, it teaches us that the reason for all the harchakos is to bring an elevation to the woman. A woman does not go to the mikvah to be mitaher her. She goes to the mikvah for the same reason the Kohen Gadol goes to the mikvah, to elevate her status with her husband so that the love and desire between them can be elevated and strengthened. So now the question is, how do we prep ourselves for that elevation while we're in the status of nida? So the first thing we're going to talk about is a mindset. You see, in the English language, there are 2 words for being alone, for being separate, for being by ourselves. 2 words that can describe that experience. But we only talk about one of them, and that word is loneliness. We use the word lonely a lot. I feel lonely. It was a lonely day. I'm experiencing loneliness. But we never use the other word. The other word is solitude. You see, loneliness is the weakness of being alone. Solitude is the glory or the strength of being alone. You see, going through periods of separation and experiencing levels of solitude is critical for our growth, for our success, for our happiness, for healthy relationships, because it allows us to be objective, to take a step back and rediscover who we are, rediscover what we love, rediscover what we enjoy, rediscover what's important to us. And only once we do that are we able to successfully accomplish what we spoke about last week, which is that intimacy in being a transmitter and in being a receiver. So now, from a practical place, I'm going to offer 5 questions as suggestions for you to ask yourself while you're in the status of Nida, so you can prep yourself for the status of elevation by staying in your zone of well-being. Ready? These are the 5 questions. Okay, question number 1. How can I take better care of myself on the most basic level? And this is what I like to call 5 to thrive. What are my 5 most basic needs? And they are sleep, nutrition, mindfulness or relaxation, movement, and social connection. Am I getting enough sleep, or am I getting quality sleep? Nutrition, am I eating well? Am I eating foods that are good for me and healthy for me? Am I drinking enough? Do I have a little bit of mindfulness and relaxation in my day? Do I get enough movement, physical movement? Get my heart pumping? And do I have enough social connections in my day? Question number 2, what are the things that I like to do to infuse an extra dose of pleasure into my day? What brings me pleasure? Drinking a coffee in the morning, do I make time for that? Journaling, is that something I like to do? Reading a book, sitting outside, going for a walk outside. Make sure that you do something throughout the day with intention to fill yourself up and to take good care of yourself. Slow down, be present, and enjoy. Question number 3, what can I add into my life that is deeply meaningful to me and can fill me up on a much deeper level? Question number 4, what is going on in my life that is constantly draining my energy from me? And once I identify that, what can I do to take steps forward so that this thing will not be draining my energy anymore? And question number 5, what am I saying yes to that is pushing me out of my zone of well-being? Okay, so that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I know you didn't hear a word I said because you were so distracted trying to figure out what is written on my sweatshirt. Ein od milvado, melo chol haaretz kivodo, HaKadosh Baruch